Oh, I think I know this. I've seen his TikToks. Okay. So this was... Wait. I saw the medium mile. Look, you wanted to click on it. Not gonna lie. You got me there still. Members only. That's some nonsense.
I mean, sometimes a player can dominate an entire game without direct. Now in football, not every performance is defined by a goal. Now in football, not every performance is defined by a goal or an assist. I mean, sometimes a player can dominate an entire game without directly scoring or assisting. Yet without doing that, they are still crowned the man of the match. So today I'm going to be telling you guys about some of my favorite all-time
the best 0 GA performances in football.
GA performances in football. And first off, we talk about one of the first performances in football that made me stand up and start clapping. Now in February of 2011, Arsenal hosted Barcelona in a Champions League round of 16 first leg. And this would eventually be a game marked in history, being one of the founding memories of a lot of Arsenal fans growing up throughout the 2010s. The match would finish 2-1 and would be an absolute piece of cinematic beauty, including a last minute winner that was scored by Arshavin that would again be written in the history of this club. And of course some of you may be thinking
you see this Austrian brother, yeah, this guy, that Austrian brother was going too crazy for Arsenal, bro. I can't lie.
I'm going to be talking about Jack Wilshere's performance in this game. But no, one player's performance that really stood out to me on the night was Cesc Fabregas's. This was Arsenal's captain at the time and the midfield maestro. And without a goal or an assist in the game, his fingerprints were still all over it. He was one of the sole reasons for Arsenal's comeback in the game, paired alongside a youthful Jack Wilshere. A Jack Wilshere that was 19 at the time and pretty much stole all the headlines after this game, with people talking about how good he was without crediting the maestro behind it all, Cesc Fabregas. And I'm saying this because Fabregas was the one pulling the strings behind it all, allowing the space for Jack Wilshere to exploit. Without Cesc Fabregas in this game, Jack Wilshere wouldn't have got the time of day. Fabregas was the guy that set the tempo from the off, often dropping deep into the Arsenal midfield to orchestrate the attacks even between the Arsenal centre-backs. And then whenever this Arsenal side would surge forward, Fabregas was there at the heart of it. And you'd see these little moments of brilliance that were sprinkled in throughout the game. One, for example, being when Fabregas scooped the ball up for Robin van Persie to volley, with that opportunity forcing Victor Valdez into a save. And as the game went on, Fabregas' influence on it just grew. And eventually his pinnacle moment in the game would come when Arsenal needed him most. With the score being level at 1-1 and Arsenal surging on a counter-attack, the ball would be played to Cesc Fabregas. And within this moment of receiving the ball, turning and looking up, Cesc Fabregas would spot Samir Nasri and play him through with an outside the foot ball. This ball would land perfectly in the path of Samir Nasri, who would get his head up and see the oncoming run of Andre Arshavin. He then plays the ball across and it's not an easy finish from Andre Arshavin, but he puts it into the back of the net.
You know what?
And everyone,
you know what this shit like actually like makes me think of? Yeah, people actually need to understand like how quick, yeah, and like pacey the what's it called? Like the way football just moves. Like, see the way these professionals be playing football, yeah? You could go play Sunday League or like, I don't know, like just a kick about with your guys. But when you watch these footballers play ball, yeah, like,
with the score being level at 1-1 and Arsenal surging on a counter-attack, the ball would be played to Cesc Fabregas. And within this moment of receiving the ball, turning and looking up, Cesc Fabregas would spot Samir Nasri and play one look up and he's gone outside the football. This ball,
and all this happened in generally like what, 2 maybe 5 seconds. Simple passes in between and the ball's already gone, already in the other half and looking for a goal. Like the game of football just moves so fast and efficient and fluidly, that's a word, fluently.
Ball would land perfectly in the path of Samir Nasri, who would get his head up and see the oncoming run of Andre Arshavin. He then plays the ball across and it's not an easy finish from Andre Arshavin, but he puts it into the back of the net and everyone goes crazy. But without that pass from Fabregas, this moment wouldn't even exist. A perfectly timed and weighted ball in the clutch moments of the game. Fabregas contributed defensively and offensively all game, and honestly this was one of my favourite performances from him during this time. And of course Jack Wilshere was officially named man of the match in this game, but for me, Cesc Fabregas was the man behind it all. And throughout the game, you would also see Jack Wilshere take risks. And one thing I want to say is that Jack Wilshere was reassured, because even if he did lose the ball in tight areas, Cesc Fabregas was going to be there to clean up and work things out. Now, probably an even better example of a 0 goal and assist game has to come in the Champions League a couple years back now, when Real Madrid took on Bayern Munich. This game would commence in the 2023/24 Champions League campaign, and with Real Madrid taking on Bayern Munich, it would be one man that the...
So people never thought Rodri should have won the Ballon d'Or. Wait, what? This is why people never thought Rodri should have won the Ballon d'Or. Rodri did stuff like that, but never got credit. I mean, that's because we're in the modern day of football, bro. Like, people don't really just watch football for these type of performances no more, bro. Unless you're an attacker, you won't get the recognition, really, to be fair. Like, it's rough. I can't lie, it's rough, but life.
The world was watching. Vinny Jr. This season, Vinicius Jr. was on a generational run.
Where's Mob?
In the second leg of this...
No, because where's Mob? Where's Mob? Oh, thank God. You see the way God works here? Where is Mob? Where is Mob? Mob will try to tell me that Vinny is shit. You 15 goals in La Liga. 15 goals in La Liga. Brother, allow it, bro. We're talking about a Ballon d'Or winning season,
generational
bro. Like,
run. And in the second leg of this semi-final, he would show the world why he was up for Ballon d'Or contention. Because despite not scoring or assisting in the game, he was undoubtedly the best player on the pitch. I mean, he completely owned the left side of the pitch. I swear, every time you would see him go up against the likes of Joshua Kimmich or Lima, you know, they were not getting close to him. It was like Vinny Jr. had this orb around him that wasn't allowing players to get close. Time and time again throughout this game, he would run the flanks, holding the width but also cutting inside to combine with his teammates. This was when this Real Madrid side was built around Vinny Jr. before the infiltration of Kylian Mbappe. Vinny Jr. was the star man, and throughout this game you would see his influence just time and time again, with multiple opportunities, him hitting the post at times, driving at defenders, crossing into the box, switches of play to Rodrigo.
Mbappe came in and ruined this for them, bro. Ruined this type of footy, bro. Ever since Mbappe came in, Vinny's never been the same.
And one word to perfectly sum up this performance was relentless, because this was a masterclass in direct dribbling ability, constantly attacking down the wing, beating his man every single time, to the point where Bayern Munich had to put 3 guys on Vinny Jr. in that second.
You know, the only player, that in recent years that we've seen that needed 3 players to get defended on is Lamine Yamal, by the way. And I'm not trying to glaze Lamine, but this is more of a Salah thing. Mob actually tried to tell me that because Vinny only got 15 goals in La Liga, that he wasn't as good as Salah. Huh? This Vinny is honestly one of the most potent wingers we've ever seen. You'll see it with the raid, but I was even gonna raid you actually. And then the chat made sure I didn't get off. So love for the raid, bro. I hope you had a good stream, man. But yeah, anyways, let's continue watching.
And it was like every time he received the ball, you were expecting him to do something, whether it was a cross into the box or him cutting in and taking a shot at Manuel Neuer. And over the 90 minutes, you would just see his influence grow and be extended to the rest of his teammates. Because going into this second leg, Real Madrid needed a win. They needed a win to reach the final of the Champions League. And eventually that defining sequence would come, the sequence that would lead to a goal. But remember, this was a goal that Vinny Jr. wasn't really directly involved in, but he did create. Late on in the game, in like the 88th minute, Vinny Jr. would be on that left hand side and be causing problems. And on this occasion, he's decided to cut inside and unleash a shot at Manuel Neuer. And this shot could only be parried by Manuel Neuer into the path
JB rules, JRB rules
of Joselu. Joselu would pounce onto the second ball, put the ball into the back of the net, and Real Madrid had just won this game, going on to win 2-1 and sending Real Madrid to a final. And whilst Vinny Jr. wouldn't be credited with the official assist, everyone knew that this was his game. With 9 attempts on goal, including 5 of them being on target, 3 accurate crosses in the game, and several
Sancho PSG better no GA performance. That might be in this video, to be fair, but I don't know about that
Vinny
one.
Jr. was unreal that game and gave Real Madrid fans a sense of nostalgia to the days of CR7 on that left-hand side, with football fans really thinking that Real Madrid had finally replaced the hole on that left hand side, and this was going to be like this for many years. But of course, since that season, Vinny Jr. hasn't shown them same abilities in the clutch to produce under pressure for Real Madrid in these tight moments. And I think it's because this squad has changed, the manager has changed, there's new additions and superstars. It's just really hard and a really tough time for Vinny Jr. in this team. But don't forget that in games like this, he can just be unleashed. Now, from a game where Vinny Jr. directly controlled an entire flank of the pitch to another where Neymar Jr. controlled an entire half. We have to talk about Neymar versus Atalanta in the 2019/20 Champions League quarterfinal.
Wait, hold on. What are you trying to say here, you know? Hey, are you trying to say Vinny was not the best winger in the world in that season? Like, come on, man. Let's not rage bait. Put the rage bait in the back, bro.
A time in football where there were no fans in stadiums. A lockdown was taking place and forcing football fans to watch at home. But this didn't stop Neymar Jr. from producing one of his all-time best performances without scoring or assisting. This was a one-off season where Champions League ties in the knockout stages were reduced to one game. One game which had to be the difference. And throughout the game, it was like Atalanta were going to upset PSG.
I think Izuna doesn't actually, like, I think he's like, he closed his ears when I was speaking. We're talking about that particular season. We're not talking about right now. We're talking about that season, mates. Like, Neymar, innit? He's never been good. Yo, I might just ban you from my chat, bro. I'm not gonna lie. This is even worse than mobile rage bait, bro. I'm not gonna lie. As a player, he's not good, I'm sure, bro. Anyways.
Because in this game, it would just take 30 minutes for Pasalic of Atalanta to get the first goal. But from kickoff, Neymar was just a constant menace, dictating and controlling the game. He frequently was dropping in deep to play like a central defensive midfielder role, picking up the ball deep inside the pitch before bringing it forward, leaving Atalanta's defenders chasing shadows. Neymar would continue.
Actually, sorry to keep pausing it. I do hope he does put the Neymar PSG versus Bayern.
Tim 1970 says Vini or Kvara?
Well, right now probably Kava, but if it's prime Vinny. I do hope he talks about PSG versus Bayern, the final 2021. Neymar was unplayable that game as well. Can't lie. You think I'm joking about Vinny? Yeah, it's cool, bro.
He glide past the opposition before creating chances for his teammates or himself. And on one occasion, Neymar just has the ball, nutmegs a man, goes past the couple, drives directly towards the goal and hits a long shot. And despite this long shot not going on target, it was just a sign of more to come. It was Neymar's ability to create something out of nothing that really sparked PSG's inspiration for this game. Because it would take PSG until the 90th minute to break the deadlock and equalize and then eventually win the game. But I'm telling you, if you watch this match from start to finish, it was like Neymar was the only PSG player on the pitch.
Yeah, right now. But when it not career-wise, no. But right now, yeah, he does. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Orchestrating attacks from the base of the pitch, completing 16 dribbles in the game. He would also create 4 key chances for his teammates and miss a sitter himself. And Neymar would be involved in the last minute equalizer that Marquinhos would put into the back of the net. And this wasn't, the best contribution, but it was there. Not an official contribution, but something that he was involved in. And then deep into injury time, Neymar would hit a defense-splitting pass into the path of Kylian Mbappe, who would then square the ball to Choupo-Moting, who would put the ball into the back end. And then deep into injury time, Neymar would hit a defense-splitting pass.
The level of speed and just brain power that it takes to actually be a professional footballer, bro. Like,
into the path.
Look at the weight, the perfection of the weight on that pass.
Kylian Mbappe, who would then square the ball to Choupo-Moting, who would put the ball into the back of the net and win the game for PSG, sending them into the next round of the Champions League. Sure, this was a man of the match display by Neymar, but also, a very much individualistic performance. It was his tireless work throughout the 90 minutes that really inspired
Tim 1970 says if I see him LV Inter, pouting face emoji, pouting face emoji. Pouting face emoji.
Eventually bailed him out and won this game for him. And where Neymar's performances had flaws against Atalanta, we have to talk about another performance in an even bigger stage of the.
We just thought Odegaard objected to only good Odegaard I know, bro. Odegaard that one season where he was nuts. That's all he has been, to be honest, bro. Other than that, he's been very much meaty. Odegaard's way to pass for the wide channel pre-assists.
Champions League that had no flaws. A performance that, honestly, is the pinnacle of this position that this player plays in. Now, this performance would happen in a Champions League final between Chelsea and Manchester City. A game that saw Kai Havertz score the only goal late on in the first half. But it wasn't Kai Havertz's performance that really stood out to Chelsea fans. It was N'Golo Kante's. Because from the outset, Kante just set the tone. He was hurrying the Manchester City midfield all game like a security guard at Superdrug, following the Manchester City players wherever they went. I am watching you. Him partnered with Jorginho would form an excellent pivot in the midfield, and honestly, Kante produced, all types of displays in this game. He was making progressive passes, he was up there on that right hand side, he was down, making last ditch tackles, he was everywhere. He was able to lock up all Manchester City's midfielders, disrupting moves before they could develop and he was down,
how much
tackles.
Honestly,
he was everywhere. He was able
to. Do you understand how good you have to have played to get a tweet from the opposition? Kante has been everywhere all game. If we can bypass him, we might be in business. What? I'm sure that the admin who made this got fired on the spot, by the way. Because this is just T1 glazing. In the Champions League final, you're just giving props to the opposition team. I hear it, bro. That's calm, bro.
Lock up all Manchester City's midfielders, disrupting moves before they could develop and not letting Manchester City have the time and space to create. Anyway. With one of my favourite moments in the game being when De Bruyne had the ball. He looks like he's about to look up and produce something, then Kante comes from nowhere, from behind, and does a slide tackle from behind, gets all of the ball and just moves on with his day.
Thank you.
There's no contention from De Bruyne. He doesn't even look at the ref. It's just, yeah, I got tackled. I got Kante'd. And I can't deal with this. Move this man. And Kante did this multiple times in the game. Like Mahrez was cutting in from the right hand side and Kante just comes and stops the move right there. He was saving opportunities before they had even been created. And it wasn't just his defensive contributions. He was able to carry the ball forward and also be reliant in possession. Like constantly you would see the Chelsea players, this youthful team, just give Kante the ball and Kante would figure something out. It was him paired alongside Jorginho that were just unstoppable throughout this game and also this Champions League campaign. Because it wasn't just in the final where Kante was brilliant, it was previous rounds too. And honestly, you could say that this entire Champions League campaign, Kante went on a generational run. Kante would also win 4 aerial duels in the game, which honestly, come on, you look at this brother and you're thinking, yeah, he's gonna climb and start winning headers. No,
it wasn't really in the final third.
With this being the most the Chelsea player has ever won in a final. And another outlier stat in this game that really stood out to me is that he did not commit one foul. He was just perfect in all aspects, and this was a 10 out of 10 display without 0 goals, 0 assists, and the perfect defensive midfielder display in football, including 11 duels won and 10 ball recoveries. This was as complete as a player could get, being able to stop a Manchester City side that was still, peaking. They still had the brilliance of their golden generation. But Kante was just a one-man wall, a one-man wrecking machine, and put out a 10 out of 10 performance on the table to stop Manchester City and to win Chelsea a Champions League.
Too many attackers out for the women. Is it leaked? Pina, Padro and Russo. Oh. Okay.
Against all odds. Now, there's been many occasions in football where a player has not had a direct contribution to a goal, yet been the best player on the pitch. So you guys tell me, what's your favorite example in football? And I'll be sure to read through the comments and see if we can make another part to this series. I already had a couple performances that I held back from talking about in this video.
So the job he was doing was that not a box-to-box type of job though. Except for the fact that he wasn't really as much in the final third as a box-to-box would be. But anyways,
I could talk about them in a bigger video, but you guys let me know. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new to the...
Go again.
Now the year of 2020.
runs of form. We are back. 1 versus 1. It's too easy. Arsenal could low-key do it. That's a funny tower. An all action midfielder, yeah, exactly. That makes him a box to box, a 6. He can do it all basically. Let's see. 99 left wing. He will just progress the ball by carrying it forward. Does that not make him box to box there? Except for the fact that he wasn't in the final third as much as a rule, He just slightly backwards though, like you said. Kenan Yildiz versus Dortmund was insane. Kenan Yildiz is a real baller, man. Let me see. Should you do the current state of wingers in football? Or how did Tony Tanisio break modern football? How's the rewards? And I'm saving rewards, bro. Should we do best and worst of football or best and worst of footballers in 2025? Members only. I'm not a member of the channel though. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Let's watch this. Let's watch this one. The 2025 Ballon d'Or made absolutely zero sense. Let's watch this. This one or wait, this one or best of 2025? Which one? Not Ballon d'Or. So best of 2025, yeah. Best of 26. 26 is tied, gang. Best of them Ballon d'Or. Alright, so nothing. I'll put Ballon d'Or here.
Now it's finally that time of the season. 'Tis the season to be jolly. The end of the season. Now the 2024/25 season has officially come to an end. And what a season it's been, with records broken, underdogs rising, and young stars shining brighter than ever in Europe's top 5 leagues. From Napoli's Scudetto triumph to Crystal Palace's fairy tale, we're here to celebrate it all. The players, the managers, the best games, and I'm going to be talking about some of your favorite players. So of course, let's talk about some moments that defined this unforgettable campaign. I'm your host as always, Jib Rules, and let's get into the first award.
It's gonna be Amal Glacier.
Now within every team in football,
but here
there's a
McTominay
man
this bit. I'm gonna
magic,
wait.
a guy pulling
What's wrong with McTominay though? McTominay was class.
all the strings on the tactical board, making big decisions, setting up his team, and ultimately being the sole reason behind most of their success. So let's talk about some of the best managers of the season. And first up, we've got to give Arne Slot some credit where credit's due, because in his debut season, having
I'm telling you, bro, McTominay hate is forced, bro. Are we gonna act like McTominay was shit? McTominay was a vital piece for Napoli, bro. Come on, man. Let's not be silly now, bro. It's just at this point, it's just hate now. It's silly hate.
By Jurgen Klopp, he has led Liverpool to a Premier League title, and not just any Premier League title, their 20th, matching Manchester United's record.
Tim 1970 says, "Tell me one Napoli game you watched."
0, but I still know he wasn't shit. Like, what? Huh? What? Bro, what? I don't need to have watched a Napoli game to know that he was shit, bro. He wasn't shit, bro. Come on now, man. Let's not be silly.
Team currently, his structure,
he's still doing it this year as well. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Revitalized this team, boasting a win percentage of over 63% and averaging over 2.08 points per game. Let's not also forget that during the start of this season, this guy was dominating in all competitions.
McTominay's a trunk because he scores a few goals from 6 yards out. Doesn't make him a good footballer. Your rage baiting is fucking horrid, bro.
And really strutting his stuff.
Your rage bait is fucking horrid.
The European stage. Unfortunately, his side was toppled over by PSG in the Champions League, but if we're being honest, Liverpool had a bunch of chances throughout both of the legs. And then looking at the wider landscape, out of all the teams in the Champions League that really gave PSG a run for their money, it was, the Liverpool's.
Still on Fred, but that's the Rubens in it right there, bro. Only slot again the side this summer. You think?
All the way to penalties, something that the other sides that they faced.
Not rage baiting.
And while Arne Slot's success with Liverpool has to be talked about, Antonio Conte, let's talk about his Napoli side, because Conte took over at Napoli and won.
That's what I'm saying, Goofy, bro. It's just silly now.
Becoming the first manager in the league to win the title with 3 different Italian clubs.
I'm not saying McTominay is crazy, bro. You might not acting like the guy is shit, bro. He's not shit, bro. Guy won Serie A Player of the Year for a reason, bro. Like, there's a reason these man still adore McTominay, bro. He's doing what he's asked to do, and he's doing it well. Like, come on, man. We're just being silly now. He's a very mid player with eye for goal. Does that make him mid though? You know what?
His leadership transformed some of the most mediocre players seen worldwide. The likes of Scott McTominay completely leveled up. Billy Gilmore, Lukaku. These are guys.
So I'm saying he's good at what he does. That doesn't make him mid though.
But completely shunned under his managerial construct.
No, listen to Arsenal fans, they chat shit all the time.
That were favourites going into this season. Hansi Flick with Barcelona also did his thing, reviving Barcelona with this attacking, fluid play and continuing the nurturing of Barcelona's young players. players. He had huge wins this season against the likes of Real Madrid, and again, it was this new style of play that Barcelona haven't really utilized ever in their history, helping them win La Liga, but ultimately
wait. So is there who like which midfielder do you think is good? Which midfielders do you actually think are cold, like really good at what they do? Conte is a Serie A specialist. Yeah, 100%. Conte is cold, bro. Conte is cold, bro. Only in Serie A though, can I? Better than Mexosa at his position. Pedri, Vitinha, Neves, Caicedo, De Jong. So I'll rate you for saying De Jong. I'll give you that. I'll rate you for that. But it seems like the rest of it is just common sense. All right, let's keep watching.
Where it really mattered.
I don't know where they play McTominay.
Vincent Company also had an amazing campaign this season, restoring Bayern's dominance, and I think this is completely getting over.
That was the second best game in the world after Vitinha.
With his Bayern squad.
I'll give you that, bro. I'll rate you for saying that. I rate you.
Alonso last season, Company said, you know what? I'm gonna stay in this job and show them why I'm a manager that needs to be talked about more often. Me and my large cranium head. And he dug into his head and thought of new ways that he could approach the season, winning the Bundesliga with a blend of youth and experience, making bold decisions and injecting younger players into a squad that was aging, telling the likes of Michael Olise, you go start right wing, Pavlovic, you start in the middle, trusting the youth. We also can't forget to mention Nuno Espirito Santos, leading Nottingham Forest very deep into the season in a position that
he's meeting no-tech players like McTominay and Rice. Yeah, well, some midfielders just ain't techie. So you don't rate Rodri then? You don't rate Rodri because Rodri's not techie. I want Vico's first time to be special. That's why I'm offering myself. What the fuck are you saying? Kane not getting the team of the year is insane. Okay. No one wants a Kane, bro. Bank. No one wants no Kane, man. Bank. Rodri's techie. He's a great passer. Alright, bro. Let's continue. Okay, yeah. Let's continue.
Couldn't really predict. His Nottingham Forest side finished top 5, defying all odds. And at one point in the season, they were even challenging Arsenal.
I even hate using tall strikers.
And of course, things will happen. Players' form will dip, and the squad isn't the most luxurious and valuable. Yet he did a really good job to even have them in this position. Because I know a bunch of people that predicted them to get relegated. So applaud this guy. And of course, there's a bunch of other managers that did great things this season. I think, Enzo Maresca did quite a good job. I think Eddie Howe did quite a good job. But in terms of the pinnacle of managers this season,
McTominay don't have the pass.
Enrique, guiding PSG to a treble or quadruple, whatever you want to call it, and really grabbing this PSG side by the collar and saying, you are going to listen to me and we are going to win big things this season. Winning their first Champions League in their history and, etching his name in folklore. So in my opinion, based off that fact alone, it probably should be Enrique that gets the Manager of the Year award. Now our next category is Best Young Player, aka the next generation. These are the young players that are breaking all boundaries, putting their name up there with some of the best players in world football. Players that have the raw ability and are doing it on a weekly basis. This is the award for a player that is going to lead the next generation. And of course, each of the players have to be under the age of 23. Now, Lamine Yamal is the first youngster that I have on this list. But if I'm being honest, this guy is in a category of his own. At this point, at 17 years old, he's shown so much talent that you really can't even compare him to his age mates. Doing it at club level, on a European stage and international stage too. There is nothing that this guy is doing that is not comparable to players that are already established and world class. He's in that category. I'm not putting him in a category that is talking about the next generation when he is.
Stream's over. Where are my glasses? The stream's over. The stream is 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 over. The stream's over. He is in his own generation. The stream is over, bro. Stream's over, gang. Stream's over. Yo, I need to subscribe to this guy. This guy knows fucking ball, bro. This guy knows ball. I don't even have an account yet. I'll make an account and sub, but this guy knows ball, man.
So out of respect for the things that he's achieved this season, he's not even going to be...
The clip command works, don't worry, it works.
Ryan Gravenberch, however, is someone that is born in 2002 and completely held down the Liverpool midfield for a lot of the season. Because when the likes of Dominic Szoboszlai...
Hold on, bro. Real quick. Oh, wait, hold on.
that category. I'm not
Yeah, it does
putting him in a
work.
category
You just need to
that
click
is
the
talking
link.
about the next generation when he is
Yes.
Now, as you guys can see,
Anyways, let's continue it.
McAllister were going through
Watching this man
rough
for a while. He's
patches
one of
here
the
and
best
there
football
with
content. Yeah, nah, he's
inconsistency.
cold
Week
still.
in
He's
and
actually
week out,
unreal.
it was Gravenberch putting in
He's
solid
unreal.
performances, and despite people saying, "Oh, if he comes up against
Wait, hold on. We need to go back because we missed a lot.
9 years old, he's shown so much talent that you really can't even compare him to his age mates. Doing it at club level, on a European stage and international stage too. There is nothing that this guy is doing that is not comparable to players that are already established and world class. He's in that category. I'm not putting him in a category that is talking about the next generation when he is the generation. So out of respect for the things that he's achieved this season, he's not even going to be, talked about for this category. Ryan Gravenberch, however, is someone that is born in 2002 and completely held down the Liverpool midfield for a lot of the season. Because when the likes of Dominic Szoboszlai and McAllister were going through rough patches,
He's to start your mouth. Chill.
It was Gravenberch putting in solid performances.
Gravenberch the best Premier midfielder last season. I can agree.
If he comes up against a real midfield, he'd be outplayed. Constantly, he was, disapproving.
Caicedo towards the end of the season was showing him levels.
The silky ability to get out of trouble. He shows traits that are of an elite standard. Constantly scanning and being one step ahead when players are trying to press. And I think towards the end of the season, his form may have dipped. But if I'm being honest, if you ask a Liverpool fan who was their best midfielder throughout the entire season, it would have to be Gravenberch. And you can't just not talk about a midfielder that won the Premier League and was completely dominant. Ryan Cherki is another one of these young players that is really making a name for himself in football right now. Coming off an amazing performance in literally the UEFA Nations League just the other day, scoring and assisting against Spain, proving that he can go toe-to-toe with the very best. And with rumours of a move to Manchester City, things are only going to get better, because despite people saying that he's going to be overcoached by Pep Guardiola, this ain't happening. Cherki is not someone that is going to be overcoached. He is going to be given creative control, and Guardiola likes these guys.
Funny enough, this aged very, very well. This aged very well. He's been unreal for City so far. I'm not gonna lie. Exactly what he's been amazing for them, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Aged very, very well.
Messi, come on.
He's like
he was given creative
100%.
control. He was a bit tubby. He had a couple double chins and he was balling back in 2011. Ryan Cherki has everything that it takes to be the very best. And at club level this season, he proved it too, getting over 19 assists in the league. And on a European stage, we even saw cameos against the likes of Manchester United and Rangers, Frankfurt, where he was just dictating the games with ease. Alongside his creative brilliance, you also have Florian Wirtz, who's been doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna just pretend like he didn't say anything.
1 season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons. Nobody even talks about him because he's in the Bundesliga, because he's not playing for the best team in the Bundesliga. You ain't watching full games. You ain't even watching highlights. But Florian Wirtz continued his rise this season as a 22-year-old, getting 16 goals and 15 assists in all competitions. And again, he's another one of these creative young midfielders that is rumoured to make a big move. Making a move to Liverpool could completely explode his career. Miles Lewis-Skelly also needs to be given a shout. And despite getting 3 red cards, having a bit of a temper, he really shored up.
The bank's still open at this hour. You're going Monza.
Looking quite uncertain.
His goal today was cold. Barnsley.
Miles Lewis-Skelly, what an 18-year-old, just went and manhandled players with ease, locking up the likes of Rodrigo in the Champions League.
But what's Lewis-Skelly up to these days anyway?
João Neves of PSG, who is less than 20 years old, and a brick wall in that PSG
Scully's a shin
side,
kicker.
able to progress the play forward, but also help out on the defensive end. I also nearly forgot to mention Desiree Doué as well, who, you know, again, had an outstanding season.
Chitch_score says, can you watch Suarez highlights? I think arguably Suarez has the best hat trick on the planet.
Yeah, after.
Putting his name up there with the likes of Lamine Yamal, you know, reaching for the top. Of course, I don't think he's at the same level just yet, but with time, he's going to be one of the best. But I think out of all these players, the one that has the highest ceiling and the one that probably wins the Young Player of the Year, Ryan Cherky. Give it up for that brother. If we ban burgers from this guy's life, he is going to be one of the best players.
He's not even fat though.
Easy to see. It's obvious because North
I don't think
African
Cherky's fat.
genetics is already overpowered.
Nevis is underrated though.
Now, from the best young players of the year, players that are looking to lead the next generation, to players that are leading the era that we're in, let's talk about this year's player of the year. Because without these individuals, their teams wouldn't be the same. Their nations wouldn't be the same.
It was stocky.
They impact.
I don't think he's that fat though.
A player that doesn't hide from the opposition. A player that can go toe to toe with any, you know, individual on a football pitch. This is the cream of the crop, the highest of peaks, the warrior at the top, the one going first into battle. These are the best players of this season. And first off, as always, with a lot of these categories, let's talk about a Liverpool player that completely destroyed the Premier League with ease this season. Now, people can constantly argue with a brick wall about the fact that this guy doesn't look easy on the eye. But sometimes I don't want to look at a player and say, oh, he dribbles really. He's good. You know, he looks silky on the ball. Bro, give me a goal, give me assist, and shut up. Because when the team that I support are struggling to win a trophy, I don't need fancy dribbles. I don't need the fact that, oh, he put the ball through his legs a couple times.
This guy's literally mob, bro. He's literally saying mob, like,
and get assists.
This is
and
what
really
mob would
help
say.
my team go forward in their lives.
Yeah,
and
I want to
Mohamed
skip this
Salah
shit, bro.
is that guy.
Fuck off, man.
Because season on season on season on season on season, ever since playing his first season in the Premier League, this guy has put his name up there as one of the very best players in the league and probably the best winger that we've seen in the Premier League as a whole.
Guy wants us to watch a shit baller who scores goals. Why would I want to do that? What?
47 goal involvements this season with 29 goals and 18 assists, breaking records in Liverpool's title-winning campaign. He also has the most goals against the top 6 in the Premier League and has constantly shown to be a dominant force in this Liverpool
you mean
side.
Ted Lasso?
And from an established star to one
Ted Lasso,
that was,
Ted Lasso's good.
hounded out of his former team and has completely rebuilt his reputation. Scott McTominay was the Serie A MVP, contributing to 32% of Napoli's goals in the league. And this is all while playing central midfield.
Man, that's Scott McTominay, you know, MVP.
Into a dying
Scott McTominay, you know.
Being able to progress the ball with ease and also show attacking and defensive consistency.
They actually tried to tell me this guy's not techie, bro. Allow it.
6 assists in all competitions, but honestly, it was
that
his in-game
progress
the ball with ease and also show attacking and defensive consistency. He got 13 goals and 6 assists in all competitions, but honestly, it was his.
You said he can't pass. Someone in the chat still.
McTominay showed that he can be an all-action midfielder.
Someone that can drag the team forward right now.
When they're down, but also flourish when a team is popping it about. And alongside him this season as one of the best players in football, you know, we talk about a real midfielder. Pedri of Barcelona. Just because he doesn't get the goals or assists, people are forgetting that this guy is world class. He is one of the best midfielders in football. Barcelona without Pedri is like waking up to make a cup of tea and there's no milk. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
For the rest of the day until I get my milk back.
Look,
just like Barcelona would be
You're
depressed if Pedri
got injured again
because they need him. And I already have an entire video titled
Pedri, you know what, you're right.
Unfamiliar with your game.
Right still.
So if you want to hear Pedri glaze, you just go over there. But now we have to talk about Ousmane Dembele because he still gets a lot of slack, mainly because in some of the biggest games he might not show up. But this Champions League campaign, he completely silenced the doubters, having a slow start then recovering and finding an amazing run of form. Dembele won the Golden Boot in Ligue 1 with 33 goals, but that doesn't even add up for all of his, you know, impact and involvement this season, because in all competitions he also got 15 assists, from being moved from a winger to being played centrally and really having, you know, a control on games, being allowed the time and space to drop in deep and receive the ball and help with link-up play. You saw it in, you know, slow motion in the Champions League final with that goal. you know, where he's back-heeled the ball into the path of Vitinha. Vitinha's driven past it.
No, Dembele's second half of the season was unreal, bro. I'll give it to him.
You know,
I will give it to him.
Would you see Dembele even in this position to make
Vinny mentioned in this video?
and set it off? No. And alongside him as some of the best players this season, you have to talk about Rafinha. You know, Rafinha was amazing for so long this season, and then suddenly
fucking MVP, man.
Finishing
He's
the
my
year with
fucking
34
MVP.
goals and 25 assists in all competitions. This guy was breaking records in the Champions League, you know, scoring the most in the group stage, and, you know, was showing out. And I think it's because the winger that he's opposite is Lamine Yamal that he is kind of seen as the underrated one, yet his numbers completely outdo Yamal's. His impact for Barcelona as a runner, a hard worker, a guy that is gonna, you know, really get your team back involved in the game is completely underappreciated, and he has been one of the best players this season. People will probably get at me for not mentioning Mbappe, and I do think Mbappe had, you know, a decent season, but I don't think he's up there with one of his prime seasons.
If I cannot
He
get
got
mentioned,
over
this
how
guy's
many
getting
goal
shot.
involvements, but I just don't think it's the same.
I can't help but root for Dembele because I love the comeback. No, I do
despite the
too.
numbers.
I just
If you
think
actually
he
watched
wasn't all
him
that
play for a
consistent.
lot of the games,
Man
he
said
ghosted
Rafinha,
for a
yo,
lot of the
nigga
start
back,
of
bro.
the season, and I think he could do way better. But in terms of a footballer that was completely dominant in all aspects this season, you cannot forget to talk about Lamine Yamal. This guy, in my opinion, is probably the best player to watch right now, and despite not having comparable numbers to the likes of Dembele, Rafinha,
He's so good,
Salah,
bro.
this guy's 17 years old, and his primary action is to create. He not only creates chances, but he also creates chaos and comes up clutch in big moments. And with 18 goals and 25 assists in all competitions this season, it's not like he has inferior numbers, to say the least. This guy has injected himself as easily the best right winger in football and possibly the best player. And I think the reason why I'm saying this is because despite
I'm so glazing.
Lamine Yamal on every stage has showed up, and you can't even tell me that he was probably the only guy going toe to toe with every single action he took, and he had a couple unfortunate misses at the end, but you cannot take away the fact that this guy is a teenager doing it, playing like a fully grown man. So in my opinion, I would take what action he took, and he had a couple unfortunate misses at the end, but you cannot take away the fact
No,
that
you
this
won't
guy's
take
a
it easy,
teenager
gang.
doing it,
This guy has a
playing
family
like
at
a fully
home.
grown man.
Take it easy, bro. Wow.
So in my opinion, I would give the best player of the year award to Lamine Yamal.
The stream is over. The stream is over. The stream is over. What, bro? When I said Yamal was the best player in the world, guys would call me crazy. Guys actually said I was glazing. This was the best player in the world last season. Whether you like it or not, argue with your dog, argue with your cat, argue with your pet hamster. I don't care. This was the best player in the world last season. Reducing to 9 league goals, whether you want, you know, mob stat. He loves to listen to stats. He loves to watch stats. Yeah, but when you watch football with your eyes, your two eyeballs, you know this guy was the best footballer in the world, bro. He's not better than Vinny. Bang, bro.
And he even showed it the other day in the Nations League, reminding the likes of Ousmane Dembele, reminding the French national team that he is still the guy, scoring, you know, assisting, being impactful. So well done, Lamine Yamal. You know, more glazing. What do we expect? There's going to be many years of this. Our next award is the worst signing of the season. Who made these awards? I don't know. Now,
Vinny is mental still. Vinny is comparing
Vinny's
mental, bro.
Raheem Sterling, who Arsenal signed on deadline day for a loan fee, but he's not the worst signing.
Vinny's currently better than current Yamal. Shit's hilarious.
We didn't put down a bunch of money to sign Sterling. It was just wages, and now he's gone. You know, he's been released back to Chelsea, and he's gonna go live out his career there. But there were some other worst signings this season. Players that actually costed big money, and one of them is Manuel Ugarte. People are actually forgetting.
Oh my god. Thank the Lord he actually mentioned Manuel Ugarte, bro. This guy is so shit. Ugarte is so bad. You know, people were saying, what was that phrase that they were saying on Twitter again? What was it? Ineos, are you mad? That's what they were saying when they signed him, bro. This guy is so shit. He's so shit. Yo, Ugarte is trash, bro. Why did he slip words in there? I didn't even see it.
Manchester United spent £50 million on Ugarte, but this guy has had virtually no impact. He's literally just been a toilet bowl that you've just flushed money down. Because how can you waste that amount of money on a player that has done nothing?
Yeah, I've seen that actually.
You know, PSG are laughing.
Now
let's talk about the best signings of the year award. Yeah, transfers that made an impact instantly and transformed the team that they were bought to play for. And first on this list, we have to talk about Dean Huijsen.
Hey?
Dean Huijsen.
Huijsen?
Dean Huijsen source.
It's
because
Huijsen,
the Spanish
but,
or
hey?
Dutch centre-back was brought in this season by
Huijsen?
Bournemouth.
Huijsen wasn't that good. Oh wait, is he talking about Bournemouth or is he talking about Madrid Huijsen? Which one?
From Juventus. On January 30th,
he's talking about Bournemouth. He's talking about Bournemouth. Okay, I thought he was talking about Madrid one. I was about to say that, eh?
2024, Iraola
Anyways.
and Bournemouth pulled off an absolute steal, bringing this guy in, and he, helped them rise up the table this season, adding this composure and progressive element to every ball that he hit, helping this Bournemouth side punch above their weight all season. And his impact has been clear to see, having now made a move to Real Madrid, showing that his level is not Bournemouth level.
Did you
This
actually
is a
let
guy
him go
that
in
could
there?
be a world-class centre-back, and he's now even starting for
CB.
Spain in the Nations League as their main guy. But if I'm being honest, Kavica Kvaratskhelia was bought in for what, 70 million in January.
He's been meaning for
And
Madrid
on impact
100%.
since
Shaq can
making that
vouch as
move to
well.
PSG, this guy was completely phenomenal. A key man in this PSG side that was filled with so much brilliance. I think he deserves the award
Nah,
as the best transfer
Kvaratskhelia,
of the season, because he literally
mental.
led PSG to secure the league, secure the
I
championship.
think my favorite KVAR goal was last season was the goal against Aston Villa in the UCL. What a goal, man.
League, and was a vital part of it. And finally, this is an award that you guys can choose. What was your most memorable match that you watched
KVAR
this
against
season?
the
The
Villa,
match
yeah.
that made you, get off your feet. One of them has to be the
Mental.
Man United Lyon game in the Europa League. Arsenal versus Manchester City when we drew 2-2 at the start of the season. I've got a bunch of picks, but this is a question that I throw to you guys. Of course, give me your winners for each award. This was just a bit of a joke. Don't take any of these rankings seriously. If you want me to praise your player more or want me to include this, bro, come on, man. I ain't got all day. So, of course, as always, this has been Jabrules. Make sure you leave a like.
W video.
comment, subscribe.
I agree with everything he said. KVAR's underrated skiller. Facts. Is this guy an Arsenal fan? Yeah, he is. He is. Yeah. I think this is gonna be a juicy video still. This is gonna be a juicy video
From my
still.
incredible outfit. I
Need to
attended
fix
the
up his
Ballon
ball
d'Or
knowledge.
ceremony last night.
This
And
is
if I'm
going
being
to be
completely
interesting.
honest, the 2025 Ballon d'Or made absolutely zero sense. And not because Ousmane Dembele won the award, but the rankings were weird, and also the reaction to Dembele winning the award is actually quite strange. It's not even been 24 hours yet and people are already outraged that Lamine Yamal didn't win, with his dad already popping up in articles saying that the Ballon d'Or should be ashamed. But in my eyes, Dembele was easily the best player in the last year, especially when taking into account what it takes to win a Ballon d'Or. Dembele wins his first ever Ballon d'Or in a season where PSG was so dominant, untouchable all the way until the Club World Cup. That is anyone really counting that? But the rankings, the order and the logic that has gone around into this competition this year, it is just baffling. From Rafinha being placed at 8th, Palmer being in the top 10 and Pedri being 11th. This ranking is looking like it was made by a TikTok football content creator that don't even speak, they just make edits. But first of all, before we dive into the rankings, we have to give our flowers to Ousmane Dembele. A Champions League win, domestic dominance and being named the best Champions League player of last season.
Okay, you know what I don't like about this Dembele PR? Yeah, don't get me wrong. Dembele's my guy. Like, I love Dembele when he's at Barca. But first of all, Dembele did not perform in the first half of the season. I'll be honest, he didn't. And PSG fans can admit that they were saying that he should go back to Barca. I'll be honest, they were saying that. And then all of a sudden he woke up. Fez, good on you. You got your feedback. Secondly, Ousmane being the player of the season in the UCL is a bit interesting, even though he didn't get the GA that Rafinha got. But I guess they give it to the person who wins the UCL, I guess. So fair play in it. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Player of last season. His production last campaign hit a peak that we
first half
had
of
never
GS spiked after
expected.
January. I
Around
wouldn't
35 goals and 14 assists
I think it was
in
quite mediocre
53
by the middle.
matches.
But
And he
it was
decisive
due to
in many
injuries
of
as
the big
well.
games for
I'll give him
PSG,
that.
turning up on the half turn of the
All knew he
year
was going to the
back in
Champions League
January.
winner.
And
Yeah,
by
I
now you
guess
guys
so,
probably
but-
know this, but early on last season, Dembele was not even in the squad. He was dropped by Luis Enrique. He needed Dembele to show that he trusted this process. And one big game he would miss would be Arsenal versus PSG back in the league phase of the Champions League
Arsenal
last
won 1-0,
season.
innit?
Then after being re-injected into the squad, he would just take over from the start of 2025 all the
Were you
way
vexed
until
on
the end
Pedro's
of the
11th?
season. And this is where that journey would eventually take him.
I wouldn't say I was vexed. I don't really care about Ballon d'Ors, like, but I think it was a bit disgraceful, yeah. Because Pedri was easily the best midfielder in the world last season. And him getting placed at 11th, and then Rafinha getting done dirty, and then I'm seeing Salah at 4th. Huh? Interesting. But, yeah. 11th is mad for the... Yeah, the Ballon d'Or last year didn't make any sense, bro. I'm not gonna lie, at all.
The Ballon d'Or victory. But let's not act like this guy wasn't a wonder kid breaking through at Rennes, jumping into their first team back in the 2015/16 season. Then at 19 in the 2016/17 season, he hits Germany like some sort of glitch. The raw pace and just direct ability, this guy would actually score in the DFB Pokal semi-final against Bayern Munich. Then also put up an amazing performance in the final of the competition too. Then after making his name known at Dortmund, he would make a massive blockbuster move to Barcelona. And he was supposed to be the replacement for Neymar, but it would never really show. And whilst he had his spells at Barcelona where he was playing amazing,
this goal was one of my favorite Dembele goals at Barca, man.
He would miss at big moments and not be clutch in the situations where Barcelona really needed him. But then he rebooted himself.
I rated Dembele at Barca too, even when same. I really liked Dembele at Barcelona. The only thing that was really frustrating was obviously his injuries. And obviously when he then left and went to PSG and then scored on us and emoed on our heads, it did feel a bit like it was a what's it called, like a betrayal, because at the end of the day, like, this guy was here for so long. We actually treated you with love at this club. No one hated you, nothing, even though you were injury farming for how long, and then you just emailed on our heads. Fair play, man, but it's calm though.
Respawning in France back in 2023, and since then he has slowly been making his way to the top. Even through all the incomings and outgoings, he has stuck through this period of time, waited for the likes of Luis Enrique to be involved in the squad, and finally reached the pinnacle of football. And somehow there's already people downplaying this journey and also this amazing season that he had last year to give the award to someone like Lamine Yamal, who has...
Well, we kind of do, because Dembele says he loved the club. He just left because he wanted to go back to France. So... yeah.
An entire career ahead of him. Someone that is definitely guaranteed multiple Ballon d'Ors throughout their career. And let's quickly talk about this guy, because he doesn't do himself any justice. The amount of ego this kid has already is crazy, and honestly, he has backed it up on multiple occasions. But lately, he has been taking a couple L's. Like, if we want to talk about him losing in the Champions League final to Inter, we can. But he did put up 10 out of 10 performances home and away. But then you could also mention that he did lose the Nations League to a 40-year-old Ronaldo. But then again, it was a joint effort, you know, it's not just Lamine Yamal going up against this entire Portuguese squad. In all competitions last year, he would finish with 18 goals and 25 assists, with a lot of his moments coming in the big games. Not the highest when it comes to La Liga stats. This guy was always popping up for Barcelona in the Champions League through their run last year, being their top creator and actually at the Ballon d'Or ceremony winning the Copa trophy. And even though in many people's eyes and even mine, Yamal is probably their favourite player to watch, I don't think he was more deserving than Usman. Vitinha was also placed 3rd in the ranking, which I think is absolutely... what's going on? Come Vitinha for free. And I guess it's not just about his 8 goals and 5 assists, it was his impact throughout that Champions League run. But again, Vitinha wasn't really the outlier in the midfield every single game. Like, did he really have a better season to be placed higher than the likes of Salah and Rafinha? He had one season that was amazing, and it was last year, and we already placed him 3rd in the Ballon d'Or. 4th is then Mohamed Salah, who had an incredible individual campaign for Liverpool and also helped them win the Premier League, with 34 goals and 23 assists in 52 games. Also 47 GA in the Premier League alone. Really, Vitinha had a better season than this guy? Hell no. And then even Rafinha coming in at 5th. Bro, Rafinha was arguably Barcelona's most, involved player in every single game. Even though Yamal had the standout, probably better 10 out of 10 games against Inter in the Champions League deep in there, Rafinha was still the guy carrying them from the start of their season, and not just in the Champions League. He was there in La Liga too. All the games, in all the competitions, Rafinha is the guy that is working hard, finishing with 34 goals and 25 assists in 57 games. Multiple performances where he was the one on the end getting the goal that took Barcelona over the line. I think he should have been in the top 3. And then we've got Achraf Hakimi at 5th, arguably the best right back in the world right now. But with all the dodgy allegations he's got going on in the back, I'ma just skip this one. Kylian Mbappe would finish 7th, and I think that's just off output alone because he didn't have a great season when it came to winning trophies. And still, despite this headline of having a poor season, he would get 44 goals. And just behind Mbappe that had 44 goals in all comps, you know, who was in the Champions League at least and did get thrown out by Arsenal, we have Cole Palmer. A guy that wasn't in the Champions League, you know, had a decent season, not his best last year, and then won the Club World Cup. Come on, I love Cole Palmer. He's the greatest depiction of a number 10 in football right now. One of my favorite players to watch. Silky on the ball, creative, smooth, ice, cold. Hell no, is he number 8.
What?
And then we've got more PSG players like Donnarumma, Nuno Mendes, etc. And then we head outside of the top 10. We're dangling at 11th is Pedri. He can't even make top 10? Nah, this is crazy. They don't know ball. France football. What's going on? They just slapped every PSG player that had a case for them into the top 10 and said, yeah, firm it. But they clearly didn't watch the games because Pedri was arguably as influential as the likes of Yamal and Rafinha deep in the Champions League for Barcelona. He was the control room for Barcelona. Without him, they wouldn't run. He's simply just overlooked time and time again until he wins some sort of silverware with Barcelona, like properly, wins like a double. Bro, no one's going to put him up there with some of the best. And then even Harry Kane at 13th, having an amazing season. Is it because
Harry
he's
Kane
old
mentioned
that he's 13th? I don't know. And Michael Olise, arguably a top 5 winger last season, is 5 winger last season.
These stats are crazy. 41 goals, 14 assists in 51 games, bro. Wowzers.
Michael Olise, arguably a top 5 winger last season, is 30th. How is he not ahead of Cole Palmer?
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm sorry. Now, of course, the Ballon d'Or trophy itself has been controversial for many years, with people not knowing if this trophy is given to the best player or the best player that had the best campaign with the best team. And then we have 100%. The topic of the Champions League inflation, because if you win the Champions League, you're more than likely to win the Ballon d'Or. But arguably, there were players that didn't win the Champions League this season that had better campaigns individually than Dembele. And that's not my personal views, because I think Dembele had an incredible final performance and many performances that were memorable. But in terms of people's arguments online, we've got Rafinha, who had 13 Champions League goals last season. And then of course we have Yamal, who had iconic moments just ripping up every single defender that was on the right hand side of any squad. But yeah, the Ballon d'Or just seems to lose its credibility year in and year out, and this year looks like it's going to be the same. However, I do think that the winner is completely deserved. Dembele, hats off to you. I hope you have, a similar campaign this season. He deserves this one, and there's going to be some sort of rivalry taking place with a bunch of players trying to get their hands on the next one in the coming year. Mbappe is looking like his old self. Dembele isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Yamal is here to stay, and now he's going to come back with some vengeance. Rafinha is in the squad with Yamal and also wants to prove to everyone that he's not the sidekick in this team. Salah might win back-to-back Premier Leagues with Liverpool and have a deep run in the Champions
That's funny he says that.
League with the introduction of Isaac. Haaland started off this season amazingly, and this is without talking about Pedri, Vitinha, all these other guys. So we are looking at an exciting season of big footballers doing big things.
In the league.
This could be the step, bridging the gap between being elite and being the best. So let me know your thoughts about the Ballon d'Or this year in the comments below, and of course, like, comment and subscribe if you're new to the channel.
Bro.
This has been Jib Rules, back with another video. Make sure you stay safe, stay blessed, and peace.
Nah, Jib's actually what a content creator, man. What a content creator.